Hi everyone. I hope you're having a great week too in stress, wellness, and nutrition. I just wanted to make a really quick video to highlight a couple of topics of interest, especially relating to things that people have asked questions about. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and that you're all having a successful start to the course. So first I wanted to, what did I want to talk about first? Oh yes. So I wanted to talk about the week one's introduction activity where you were using the course outline to answer questions and then post them to the discussion board publicly so that everybody had the answers. So if you'll recall, if you went into the content and looked at week one module, in the introduction to that module, there was a connection activity. So the course outline scavenger hunt. So basically, using the course outline and any other information I provided in the welcome module, you were assigned a question from a list of questions, and that question was based on the first letter of your last name. So if your last name was Masnack, like mine, you would have been assigned question 8 because anybody with the last name from letter M to N were to answer question 8. Those questions were linked right here. And so question 8 was asking, in which week is the final assignment due and what is the assignment called? So just an example of one of the questions. There's 13 of them and they're all, I guess you could call them highlighted important topics for the course just to help you stay organized. So there was a great deal of participation in that discussion board and I'd like to thank you for that. I have gone through now and just checked the answers. In a couple of cases, I've had to make corrections, but most of the answers were correct. So I just wanted to make sure that you all know that if you want to just go over some details of the course, go to the course outline scavenger hunt answers discussion board within the communication and then discussions, and just read through these answers. And if you have any questions after reading through this, then make sure you contact me in any of the methods that are listed for how you contact me. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The next thing is the journal entries. So journal entries are one of the ways that you are marked in this course. It adds up to 20% of your grade because basically what you're doing is each week when you go through the module, once you get to the summary page, I will highlight any activities that are worth marks that you need to complete, and the journal entries will always be included in that. So basically the way it works is you are going to be responding or reflecting on a couple of guiding questions. You can reflect on both or just one of them. And obviously these questions will relate to that week's information. You're going to be reflecting in your own journal, whether that journal be just electronic on your computer or it actually be a handwritten journal, whatever method works best for you. You are not handing these journal entries in on a weekly basis. You are reflecting on a weekly basis and doing a journal entry every week, but you don't hand it in every week. What you do is actually, there is a whole page describing journal entries. If you go to the assignments module, go into journal entries, it tells you that there's two different due dates. There's part 1, which the due date is Sunday, October 25th by midnight or 11:59 a.m. What you're doing is you're picking your top 3 journal entries between the beginning of the course and that date. You're making sure that you edit them for grammar, spelling, clarity. You're making sure that each of those 3 entries is a minimum of 250 words. And you're actually handing in your top 3 journal entries for marking purposes. There is an actual document that you can download that has these instructions, and it also has the grading criteria with a checklist. So go through this checklist when you're going to hand in your first journal entry submission, and just make sure that you meet all these requirements. It's literally just a checklist of 8 different criteria, and that's how it'll be marked. If you get 7 out of 8 check marks, then you get 7 out of 8 on your first journal entry. And each entry is 10% of your grade. So like I said, it adds up to 20% overall. The second journal entry is due December 6th, so it's obviously later on in the semester. But it's really important that you're doing your entries every week just to make sure that you're not rushing and making stuff up last minute to hand in your entries, because it'll be less, what you call it, it'll be less authentic at that point. If you're reflecting that week, you have fresh thoughts, you just went through the content, so it'll be a lot more authentic, and that'll come through in probably what you write. And you're supposed to include personal experiences and examples, so just keep on top of that. It shouldn't take you long, maybe like 15-20 minutes to write a 250 word reflection, if that. um, if you're not sure about reflective writing, exactly what that is, I did link a website that gives a great explanation of what reflective writing is. Maybe that'll help you. But this is just something I've had questions about multiple times. How are the journal entries working? So you make an entry every week, but you're not handing anything in until the first part is due, which is October 25th. I think those are the two items I wanted to talk about this week. So I will just continue to make these little videos explaining things if I continue to get questions about the same thing over and over. I've had a couple of Skype meetings so far. It's been great. If you're interested in just having a quick chat, 5 minutes, introduce yourself, ask any questions quickly. Like I said, I'm available on Skype. Just ensure that we set up a meeting day and time so that I can be logged in. Okay, guys, well, continue learning, and I hope you're enjoying it. Take care.